Terry, this is going to be a completely spontaneous trial testing on this stone with a TOWA razor, similar to what you have. And I'm going to set the bevel on this 1000 grit king first. And I found out you can use some of these stones like the king with just a dry stone, no water or anything. So it's worth a try sometimes. So I use diagonal strokes so that when compared through the microscope with the perpendicular strokes on the finishing stone, you can see how the details of the scratch pattern fades and is replaced by the perpendicular strokes. And some of my razors I use a piece of Kapton tape on the spine. Okay, so I have a set bevel, and I'll show you in the microscope. But first, here is a sample photo I have that I took. A piece of human hair. Obviously, black hair is my wife's hair, and this distance or the width here is about 175 microns. And I'll just put that photo aside. And here is the scratch pattern left on the kawa from the 1000 grit king. So this is what we're all looking for as far as bevel setting, where the scratches reach right to the very edge of the razor and begin down at the very base of the bevel. This is the shiny portion, the face of the razor, and then this is where your bevel begins, right up to the edge. So when your bevel's setting, this is the scratch pattern that you really want to achieve. And it gives you a perfectly flat base for your new edge that you're making with whatever finishing stone you're using. So I'll take the kawa and I'll replace this king, this Nakayama. This is a piece of Kiita. It has a really beautiful color to it. And these are really fine, and they are buttery feeling stones. So it makes a good combination with these Japanese razors too. So this is a worn out Atama plate. This was a number 600 when I bought it, and now it's acting more like about a 1200. It's mellowed out a lot, and it's really good for raising a slurry. This is not a super hard stone, but it's very easy to use. So I'm just going to do the minimum number of strokes here. And I'll do the same number on the opposite side. And so that was 10 on each side. We'll just cue this up into the microscope. And this is how I test stones for cutting speed. And the shave test is for the fineness. So I didn't take a photo of it before. But that scratch pattern from the 1000 grit king, we're beginning to replace that now with a new scratch pattern from this Kiita stone. And you can see most of those 1,000 grit scratches are beginning to fade away. Let's follow that one right up to the edge there. This one here, that double scratch. And that probably originates right down at the very base of the bevel here too. So there's where that scratch began, and then it moved up the face of the bevel here. So our goal is to remove that scratch as the deepest, darkest one. And I think I can position my microscope table so that we can come back to that very same scratch. Okay, so maybe we'll take a photo of that. This might be a marker here too, that little nick. Okay, so retrieve the razor, and we'll go back to the stone. And we're going to use a series of circular strokes now. I have a switch on my microscope here so that we can go back and forth between the viewing on the computer and what I see through the binocular eyepieces. Okay, so here is that scratch that we were looking at before, and it's becoming a very weak position now compared to the edge. But this is where it began, and we've erased all those other scratches that were in that area. Here's the last photo we took from the same position. This is how that area looked just a couple minutes ago. So now we're going to refine this area even more, and we're going to work on the edge and start to refine the edge too. I can take a photo of it here. Okay, so back to the drawing board here. I think I can continue with this slurry, or at this stage I can make a slurry with a tomonagura, a slurry stone, just to speed up the process. And this tomo is matched so that the predominant slurry component is from the Kiita stone and not from this piece of sagi. This is from a different stone that I cut. So what we want is this Kiita is the better grade stone. So we want to harvest more of the slurry component from the Kiita. I try not to change my hand pressure, but when I do slower strokes, I feel the nature of your hand. I will lighten the pressure when you go slow, and vice versa. If you go quickly, if you make quick strokes, it tends to add a little bit more pressure to the blade. So rinse this off. So I try not to adjust blade pressure, but I do make adjustments through the speed of the stroke. Okay, here we are at that same position, and this is that scratch that we were following, and it's getting fainter and fainter now. Okay, if we focus in a little bit better, we have a nice granular pattern going. Our edge has become a lot straighter, and the feather edge portion has narrowed down quite a bit. And we're going to take care of that next. And the way I do that is with some hand stropping. Hand stropping doesn't have to be dangerous. There's two basic strokes, just like in honing a razor. There's a back and forth, or there's a one direction. This is the safest for a person just starting out. Do a certain number, the full length of the blade on one side, and then you just do the other side. You have a lot more control. The circular motion is a little bit more effective on a stone, and the stropping, traditional stropping, is a little more effective on the palm, but this is a lot more controlling. So, okay, take a look at this in the microscope and see where we're at. Now, stropping can reveal a lot of scratches that were hidden behind the sheen of the razor. Okay, here's that same scratch, I believe, is right here. Okay, and that false edge portion is pretty much gone. We revealed more detail in the edge itself. Let me take a photo of this. And I'm going to pull up the last photo from before just to illustrate that false edge area that I mentioned. And that is at the very edge, and I'll zoom in on this. You can see where there's a darker line and then a sparkly line above that. That is the feather edge that's been folded over from the other side, and it reflects light. The darkness just below it is a shadow. So our goal is to replace that with, and here's where we are currently right now, with a more linear, and this is stronger steel. So now we want to refine this a little bit more by going back to the stone. And then I think we'll be done. We'll do a hanging hair test. Okay, at this stage, I would rinse my stone. I have a bucket of water here, clean water. And the tomonagura, we're just going to raise a light slurry. And we're going to go after that that false edge head on just a little bit more. Yeah, I'm thinking that's going to do it. Okay, here we are at that same area. And that edge is looking really straight when you consider where we began. And the last step of refinement is to drop the razor. This is a Nakayama strop. Okay, last procedure here is I have hair. I'll zoom in here a little bit. That fell off the front there. This is in the middle of the blade here. That just fell silently on the other side. This is going to be at the heel. And then this is at the toe. So we have HHT5s all along here. Let me get one more piece of hair since we're up and running. I don't know if you use the HHT test in the shop. It's a good indicator, and it does suggest results from your shave test ahead of time, so you don't have to prep your shaves so far ahead of time. So I'll hold the hair here. Here's the end of the hair, and I'll hold it about 1 inch away from the razor, and that just fell off the other side. So this is going to be a superbly sharp shaving edge. So that's about how simple it gets. We've been talking about heart razors. When I found out you have Japanese razors, that's sort of my wheelhouse, so thought I'd make this short video.